Hey, but why is this kid so wild? Him and Fermin, man, but especially him, Gabi. He always ends up badly with all his rivals. Paul Lozano, an Espanyol player, spoke after the match twice. Once on the field in the flash interview, and then in front of the press, impromptu. And he also says the phrase, it's always the same one. They ask him about Gabi, now let's see what he says. But this guy is just possessed. It's something else. Now we see, by the way, how they celebrated it with a chant about Espanyol who sings to the stands, which is already bad. But if the players themselves sing it, saying what they say, it's even worse. But of course, it's Barça, not Madrid. Not Madrid. It's not Madrid. Stop the presses. Nothing happens here. Gabi isn't Vinicius. Those players aren't Madrid players. It's nothing compared to the outrageous things they say about Espanyol in that chant. But anyway, we're more than used to this. And we're also getting very used to Barça winning the league against us. And then we always go back to the same thing. Like, of course, they play with red or whatever, the referee issue, which you'll complain about to me, right? What I've been saying in the last videos about the crappy way we play, even so, I put the referee issue first because it's absolutely decisive. Madrid would still be in the title race if we hadn't been robbed in the match against Girona. What happens is that since the other thing is also so striking, the bad play from Madrid, not just the other day, but throughout the whole season and the previous one and 3 years ago and so on, well, you lose the league because of that too. You guys decide the percentage. The percentage for the refereeing issue is very high, but the fact that Madrid doesn't win leagues back-to-back, doesn't play with the necessary motivation, plays absolutely terribly and so on, well, that weighs a lot, and it really does. Barça is going to win 3 out of 4 leagues from us. The strong Barça that was being asked for. No, he didn't say we need a strong Barça. He said Barça and Real Madrid should help each other when Barça faced a financial crisis. And because of the Negreira issue. And when Florentino said that at the famous assembly, well, Madrid wasn't pushing hard on the Negreira issue. They had formally joined the criminal case, of course, but they weren't pushing as hard as supposedly they are now. So, well, we didn't do things the way we should have, starting with the club itself, the institution and its president, because this needs to be said. Florentino was very soft with Laporta and Barça there, when what needed to be done was to put the pressure on from several fronts. And that, well, emboldened these people, because if Real Madrid had done from the beginning what they're doing now, a Catalan lawyer named Juan Luis Martín de Pozuelo, who has shown incredible guts with this, and there are many of us on this platform and others who are aware of what the procedure is. But the one who had the guts to file the complaint was him, with the full understanding that comes with being a legal professional. Well, Madrid didn't go down that path, which is now being explored. And of course, I think things would have turned out very differently back then if the proper obstacles had been put in the way of this utterly dishonest club. Starting with having paid the head of the referees for more than 20 years, even if the crime was administratively time-barred. There's also the financial levers issue. Of course, if with the financial levers they register players with fictitious money that never arrived in the summer of 22, like Lewandowski, Koundé, Íñigo Martinez, and so on. With those 200 million that were supposed to be put in by Orpheus Media, Rora's company, and Socios.com. For 49% of what it cost, Barça Studios or Barça Vision, I don't even remember what it was called anymore, as they said. This is worth 400 million. We're going to sell half for. Wait, I'll cover the money for you. How much up front? Well, 10 million? That's enough for me. That's it. Jaume Rores later admitted it in a Catalan media outlet, and they gave that money back to him afterwards. No, it's just that I was going to save Jan, who wanted to register players, and with that, done. And those payments, or that payment schedule, was never fulfilled. After a Barça statement saying, we have sold 50% for 200 million. Socios will contribute 100, Orpheus Media will add another 100. They only contributed 10, that's all. With that, they registered players with whom they won a league that was absolutely rigged, illegitimate in my view, for which Madrid didn't file any complaint. It's unbelievable, but that's how it is. Years later, with Dani Olmo, the deadline passed. Now Tebas says that he was literally fooled once and that this time they won't fool him, and they register Dani Olmo after the deadline. And the CSD, a government body, steps in to get an urgent injunction and then another one, and we're still dealing with Dani Olmo's injunction and Gabi's again, and nothing has happened here. And Madrid isn't making a fuss about it, and neither are the other clubs, but Madrid isn't making a fuss about it. With that, it's even said that Madrid was okay with it since it went against the league, but they didn't agree with Dani Olmo's registration being done after the deadline. And I'm getting to the topic of the levers, because the idea to use the levers was actually given to Laporta by Florentino. That was, of course, where the deception began. He didn't say, hey, use the levers and deceive the league. I know he didn't, otherwise it's unbelievable, but it was still the starting point. The deception starts when you hand that trick to Barça so that then these guys, what's going on? Haven't you seen the kind of things they do by now? Since they had already paid off the head of the referees for 2 decades. Don't you know that with those levers, they're going to do and undo all kinds of crap, just like they did? Well, we were there to help them. Then they win 3 out of 4 leagues during the worst economic period in their history. They win 3 out of 4 leagues, and meanwhile, you sign Mbappe to crown a Madrid that had won the Liga and the Champions in the year 2024. 2 terrible years. We're 9 points behind after a big win over Espanyol yesterday. I didn't watch. I was with my father, alive. Let's see if Espanyol scores. Let's see if they get the second one. Look, forget it. Espanyol is going to have chances like it seemed they did in the end. And they're going to get there, or we're going to get there in the end. With chances, the third one is going to come, and maybe even the fourth. Well, look, that's exactly what happened. But, well, it was something we already imagined. I didn't mean to make the introduction to this video so long, but it's a reflection that came to me along the way. These videos have a guide, but no script, so I add many side comments and improvise a lot. But the more I think about this, the more I have to say, because it really frustrates me that these guys are going to win 3 out of 4 leagues against us. It's insane. It's absolutely crazy. It's crazy. Mainly because of our own mistakes, mainly because of collusion with these guys and for being too soft. Well, that's it. Great. That's how Barça celebrated. That's how they celebrated him. Let me see if I have it around here. Here it is. Careful, huh? Careful, I'll put it here. Smaller, since I don't think this will cause any problems. Listen to what the crowd is singing and what the players are singing too. Well, basically the same song. Rico, tell me how it feels for a moment, because it's not subtitled. Let's see. Wait, I'll tell you. Having your house in Cornellà, you have to see Fermin there singing like crazy. Gabi is there too. That Boixos noise guy, what's his name? Casado, the one who celebrated a league with the Boixos. Not very normal there. Everything is very normal. Everything. I swear that even as the years go by. We will never forget it. We tore down Sarria. You went up the mountain or started riding. Well, I understand that means you went to Montjuic, although later they also went to Montjuic. But anyway. And then we kicked you out. And after that, we kicked you out of our city. It's a very, very derogatory chant against them, against Espanyol. I'm not saying that among Real Madrid fans there aren't chants against Leti and so on, but in the end, this is football. But damn, the players singing this, and wait, because this gets worse. You went down a division just to be able to be champion. We will pray for your disappearance. We will pray for your disappearance. It's intense, the players singing. We will pray for Espanyol's disappearance, which in the end is. I mean, I know people from Espanyol there in Barcelona, and it's terrible. The way they're treated by the media socially. Anyway, it's a terrible thing, a really terrible thing. You're not going to find a Perico who's not upset about that, or one who says, well, look at Barça. Rufián is another matter entirely. Plus, he's also a... since he's a politician, that's the main reason. He always goes where the sun shines brightest. Still, some people may not know who Rufián is. No worries, you're not missing anything. But anyway, any Perico, any Espanyol fan has been pissed off about this situation for a long time and always will be. And on top of that, they're having terrible luck. When they're not celebrating, it's during matches against them, which has happened twice in the last two leagues Barça won, and now, practically today, they win again, not officially, but once more. Also, honestly, poor guys. Well, the thing is, something even worse could still happen to us depending on how things go. With 9 points, it's likely that in the Clásico at Camp Nou, they'll win the league against us and they'll win the league against us. Either that, or they may have already won it last match day, since Madrid is now capable of anything, even losing everything. We may need to give them the guard of honor. What the club does is a separate issue. Well, the guard of honor, as I said at the beginning, we've already done it in the video with everything we've put up with from these people. But anyway, there's Pedri, there's Lamine in this one. But anyway, for me also Fermin, but above all Pedri. Fermin is bringing Pedri into it. Gavi, Fermin, those guys, they're on fire. One is from Sevilla, the other is from Huelva, they're on fire. Look at Gavi here, man. Look at Gavi here. Look what I did here with this Peramila guy, calling him every name under the sun. You never know what the other one said. I mean, no, we don't know. But damn, man, I mean, this Gavi guy is something else. It's incredible. God, it's such an unpleasant thing. Seriously. Where was it? Oh, well, if it's the one with Lozano, wait, near Lozano. Oh, well, wait. Fermin's laughing about Lozano because of this. Then the Espanyol soccer player speaks. And here they are.
No.
But laughing out loud, man, about this Lozano guy who's facing Cancelo here. I insist I don't know what happened here. I don't know. I don't know what the Espanyol player said. I'm not going to fall into the populist thing of saying, look how badly the Barça players behave without knowing what others might have done either. Look, from experience, especially when you're laughing at a team that, well, is having a hard time like Espanyol, and on top of that, you're practically winning the league there on the field and all that. Well, it's not nice. And even more after singing that or saying the lines of that chant, which was pretty harsh against Espanyol. This is what it said. This is what Lozano was saying in front of the cameras. First on the field and then in front of the rest of the journalists. Just a moment. There it is. No.
Let me ask about what we just saw since some Barça players spoke to you. Did something happen?
In the background, the chant we saw earlier.
No, it's the same. It's just football. It's clear to everyone here how much they respect their fellow professionals. There's nothing more to add.
I think it's been clear the respect they have for their fellow professionals. This is very significant. When they ask him later in the press conference in front of the journalists, he says this.
No.
No.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's always the same. So no.
It's always the same one, not the same thing. It's always the same one. He says it's Gabi, right? Look at his face. Otherwise, he'd just say no. He's going to say no, but not because he doesn't want to talk.
No, it doesn't matter. It's the same. It doesn't matter.
I don't know. It's the same.
It's true that I really like it. I mean, whatever happens on the soccer field, I leave it on the field. I'm not sure it was recorded, but they didn't do it.
Well, I don't know if it was recorded. Well, let's see. Let's see if Movistar or Dazen have it. I think Dazen showed it during the match. Let's see if they have that funny thing they always do with Madrid, reading their lips. We still don't know what Lamine Yamal said to Flick the other day when he left. Didn't shake his hand and told him something. We don't know what it was. With Lamine, we never know what he says, even when he doesn't cover his mouth. The lip reader must be skipping that. What a coincidence. But we never know. And above all, they don't change his voice or do those funny things they do on Plus with them, right? But they only make fun of Chesney and, well, people who aren't very important, but not Lamine or Gabi or Pedro or Pedri or Fermin. Not them, just in case they get upset, since they play for the Spanish national team. So, of course, let's see if we find out. Well, speaking of people in the media, we've devoted part of our recent videos to this character, Nosfer, our dear Nosfer. There he is. Pavel Fernandez, who The man backed down, and says, I'm not going to play the whole video. It's 3 minutes, but he says here, wait a moment. He basically says, I understand that penalty isn't called. He says the detail that changes everything. He's referring to the blood thing, the penalty on Mbappe. I get why the penalty wasn't called. It honestly didn't look like one. Guys, it's unbelievable, but well, after seeing the bleeding wound, it's reasonable to think that it should have been called. Okay, that's what he says. But if you go to his account, you might think, well, he must have deleted that shameful tweet, the shameful one he posted. No, he hasn't deleted it yet. It has 1,000 more replies than likes. He still hasn't deleted it, in which he said that Victor Reis seems to brush Mbappe's face with his arm, that Mbappe throws himself to the ground as if he had received a hard elbow, and that VAR was not influenced by the Frenchman's act, and that it wasn't a penalty. He's taking it back, but he doesn't delete the tweet. At least out of shame, just a little bit. Delete the tweet, man. What you're saying here is outrageous. Well, su explicación lo hace con total. And it's a guy who works in radio and on Spanish television. It's unbelievable. I worked in that place, and look now at the kind of people who work there. Oh my goodness, I have very good friends working there, very capable people for sure. But lately they're hiring people who are unbelievable. And I know for a fact that there are a lot of people at Spanish television who are not happy at all with everything that's happening in Teledeport and with other things, not happy at all. What happens is that they don't say it. They don't say it because there's a lot of fear. If the political and social situation were different, they would say it because they've always said it. They've always complained there without issue. Many people have complained in that place. I've seen it while working there. Hey, they used to complain, but really loudly. And now, well, no, just in case something happens to us. Well, but great work environment there. It's amazing. But let's try, like Richard says here. He says, if we take blood out of the equation, of course, Pavel. And if we take out the gutted prostitutes, then the Ripper was a model citizen, of course. I mean, the explanation actually makes it even worse. And one last thing about this topic, I'm telling you about the media. In the ABC newspaper, there's a guy named Martinez who is a former referee and analyst, and he gives his opinion about the Mbappe incident after the blood and everything we've seen. It's not a penalty for Mbappe, not here nor on the moon. The former referee and analyst on refereeing performances disagrees with the majority opinion. The defender's arm doesn't move. Unbelievable. And of course, you say, who will be the director of ABC? Well, I'm not sure if he's the director or in charge of sports. Well, Miguel is a well-known Athletic supporter. Hey, back in the day when I was covering the Copa America in Chile and I was working for beIN Sports, he was working there in Chile too. It really caught my attention, but he came back and now it turns out he's here. Yeah, I think he's in charge of sports at ABC newspaper. And of course, you can tell, you can see his influence, you see how many people, but like we said in the previous video, things our own eyes can see, and they're telling us the opposite. Like from the media, this role, even if he corrects himself now, and more than just correcting, if he doesn't even delete the tweet about Perez Burul in the ABC newspaper. I mean, it's full of anti-Madrid sentiment, but really, that's how things are. Well, that's it. They deny reality. That's why when I talk to you guys, I have to say what I see. And that tackle by Kubarsila, I didn't see it as a red card at the time. And I explained it because otherwise it would dehumanize me. I mean, if I'm just talking like they do, like Victor Lozano, the one who, just to be right, tells you that you're showing AI-generated images, the images of Mbappe bleeding, but they deny reality in such a way. It's unbelievable. And there are a lot of them. Or they're not even giving their opinion about the obvious penalty on Mbappe because they keep quiet. They don't come out and say, hey, look, I'm a Barça fan, but this man is a penalty even on the moon. No, it's not just hooliganism that takes over their bodies. They deny reality. And you might say they're just four weirdos, four fans on social media. No. Former referees giving their opinions in the media with a big audience. Well-known journalists, anti-Madridistas, running newspaper sections, and of course with media outlets that have such a wide reach. So they're influencing public opinion to the extent possible to create that atmosphere, and counteracting what would be a scandal hurting Real Madrid by saying, no, but it's not really like that. And we've been dealing with this our whole lives. It's normal that there are a lot of people who say, hey, I don't read these newspapers anymore. I don't watch these TV channels anymore. I don't listen to these radio stations anymore. And I get hundreds of messages from you every day telling me this and that. You only follow us now and so on. But in that us, what I will never do is be so subjective, so biased, or such a blind partisan just because it's in favor of my team, to disregard reality. So when you come to me, for example, and I appreciate that some of you come to get information and so on, well, because you follow me or because I'm kind of one of the people you pull up on YouTube and watch. Well, I do the same with other YouTubers and so on. Well, I have to be honest. I have to be as objective as possible. Here you see that I criticize Madrid if I think they do things wrong. I acknowledge when there's an action where everyone is asking for a penalty or whatever, and it doesn't seem like one to me. Hey, even if it goes against me, because it does go against me on the channel, I get dislikes, fewer people watch me, but I say what I think. But look at the harm these people do to society. These people who, just to keep being right, because they already belong to a group and can't leave it, they say truly outrageous things like these. That's why things are the way they are and why we have such polarization. It's incredible. Anyway. All right, hopefully by the next one, because lately I've been philosophizing too much and maybe I'm boring some of you. Or maybe there are many of you who, when I say this, guys, have gotten so disappointed that you don't want to watch any more videos about it. I completely understand this. I understand you anyway. I'm telling you that we're not going to stop. We're not going to stop fighting. And that the thing about, and look, now that I remember those chants from the Barça fans against the Espanyol fans, like you got relegated, I don't know what, you don't win a single title, stuff like that. Let's see if karma really does its work, God willing. I hope God brings justice. I always trust that in the end, the truth comes to light, and in the end, there is justice. These guys have to pay for what they did one way or another. They have to pay for what they did, and I think they will end up paying. A lot of time has to pass. We have to swallow some really bitter pills, like losing leagues this way, because we also do things very badly, very badly. But it will come. I'm convinced. All the best. See you tomorrow. Bye.